Sorry, I just like messing with you, Gwen. We can be live right now.
Sweet.
See, I'm magic like that. Hello.
Hello.
I
Oh,
enjoy.
there's a third voice.
There is.
All right.
Do we have to feign surprise every time we do it now? Like,
Is it every time? We've only guessed twice now. It's not yet a pattern.
True.
It could be a pattern. We could always have guessed. I don't know. We'll find out. But this is cool because, like, I've always wanted to hang out or / meet William Chyr.
This is a pretty fancy stream layout.
Hey.
Yeah.
Built by me with various GIFs and color gradients over time.
This is why we keep Chris Light around. He's the professional. He makes us all look real professional and stuff.
That's me. William, hi. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you for agreeing to come on the show, by the way. It's very nice of you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. Gwen has seemingly been an admirer of yours for a while now.
Are we starting the podcast?
Hey, we can just start. I press record the minute we go live. Like it just it begins.
Hot mic. You gotta warn me, man.
We're recording all the time. I just it's where I edit. That's my secret source.
Yeah, it's like the government. They're always watching you. There's no escape.
Kinda. Less power.
Right. Here, let's do like a good opening. Maybe.
Okay, go on then.
All right. We're in, right, Chris Light? Are we in?
We are, of course. Always.
Yeah.
Ready.
This is the Dialogue Box with Chris Light, Gwen Frey, and today, William Chyr.
Hi, William. How you doing?
Great.
Sorry. We just psyched him out because we had him start twice. Now it's really confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So, William Chyr, what's up, man? How are you?
Good. Yeah. Just in the final stages of trying to finish a game.
Yeah. So for the people who don't know, do you want to tell us about Manifold Garden? Tell us what you're up to.
Yeah. So I've been working on Manifold Garden for about 5.5 years. Try not to think about how long that's been, but
yeah, it kind of gets away from you, doesn't it?
Well, to be fair, I thought I was almost done 2 years ago. So I think
that's the key. That's actually important. You have to always believe that you're like a couple months away, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll add this thing, but it'll only add a couple more months, and then I'll still be 5 months away, just 2 months from now. And then it turns out you're just like way wrong, right? About all of it, and it just keeps going. No, I know this feeling pretty well.
Well, when I started the project back in 2012, I thought I was going to finish it in 3 months. So
I remember I creep in your streams, and I remember listening to you describe what you believed. Like you believed you'd write a save system, and that would take a weekend. And I just almost fucking spat up my coffee when I heard that.
Yeah.
Oh God. But yeah. So would you I don't even know where to begin because I've like always kind of wanted to talk to you. So yeah, how did so in the beginning you thought this would be incredibly easy, and you had this were you a programmer in the beginning? Did you have any kind of background?
I had programmed. I'd studied physics in college and had worked at a couple of different research labs. So there was one genetics lab, and then somewhere in Italy at an accelerator lab. So I'd kind of done some here and there, and then after college, I worked in advertising briefly, and then spent I think 6 months at a studio in Toronto that did science museum exhibits. So
that's all science, though. Like that's not, like a programming language. I mean,
the science museum exhibits they were doing, it was programming for that. So it was C++ with open frameworks.
Got it. Okay. So yeah. So you had a programming background, and you had what inspired you to start Manifold Garden?
Yeah. So I had alongside all that, I was kind of doing these installations with balloon. I was trying to be an installation artist, or I suppose I was for a brief period, and that contemporary art space is interesting because you're always applying for grants and submitting project proposals, and I was doing these large scale pieces with balloons, the same ones that you use to make balloon animals, and was good and bad in that at some point I kind of got typecast as the balloon guy.
You were the balloon guy?
And, yeah, I mean, the good thing is your work really stands out, when people are looking at these project proposals.
There's only one balloon guy, so you get to be
there's a few, actually.
Oh, shit. Pretenders?
Were you the best balloon guy? What was the...
I would not say so, yeah. There was, I had a style, well, that kind of goes into another, that's like a related problem that it doesn't matter how good your balloon work is to everyone else. It's the novelty of balloons completely overshadows that.
Oh, but there's beauty in anything done well. And did the other people who were masters of your craft, did you guys get together and like really geek out about balloons sometimes?
There actually is a balloon twisting convention. It's called Twist and Shout.
Twisted.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Where is this?
It's different every year, but one year it was in Chicago, I think 2010, 2011. And I went out there, it was near the airport. And they'll do these, so they have courses where it's like, hey, here's like the business of it, legal stuff. It's a lot like GDC, but instead of like a graphics workshop, they'll have a workshop on how to make birds, using like 2 to 3 balloons, right? Because there are certain techniques that people invent. Or you can, for example, you can have an alien, you can have a balloon inflated inside of a balloon.
Oh,
and there's special techniques so you can do like an alien with a helmet on.
Oh, well, you can do all kinds of stuff once you start adding recursion to the balloon situation. Holy shit.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff you can do. And then they'll have balloon jams. So basically in like a ballroom, it's 24 hours, it's open 24/7, and you can just go in there and like make balloon sculptures with different people.
Holy shit. So your options were like run away and join the circus, or I guess maybe start an indie game. I can see now why you latched onto this, I guess, maybe.
Well, it wasn't quite, I just at some point it felt like you couldn't do anything besides balloons, right? It was like...
It was too niche.
It was too, yeah. It started to, at some point I felt like IKEA.
Yeah, you've invested all your points.
Yeah. Did you consider yo-yos? Like when did you move from...
No, I'm not that... I don't have such good hand-eye coordination. Like yo-yo is like real-time stuff, right? I mean, this is...
it's funny. I don't know what it is with game developers, but I know one famous game developer that's way into juggling. I know Lana Baczynski is like a famous yo-yo artist. Like we just like doing weird shit, I guess. I don't know what it is. But yeah, that's so cool. Holy crap. Okay, so you were so you have this background where you were programming by day and by night you were making balloon animals and stuff, and you were like a big deal in the balloon art installation communities. Am I understanding?
It wasn't quite. I wasn't doing them at the same time. That kind of different time periods. I mean, the installation one I was doing it for about a year, and during that time I was like moonlighting as a balloonist at birthday parties. But at some point I had to drop that so that people would take me seriously as an artist. Or that was the hope, because it was like you couldn't show
it's commercial. Yes, of course. It's commercial art
people.
versus... Yes, I understand.
Stuff.
Like you couldn't be, at the exhibit with the parents and then at the birthday party with the kids.
No, that makes sense.
Hey man, your passion was balloons and you was not gonna let anything stand in your way. You're like, look, posers, like you're thinking you're too cool for the kids' parties? Wrong. Balloons are art wherever they are.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Cool. Oh my god, so how did this turn into now I really want to dig into Unity? Were you a gamer?
No, I didn't play games. Essentially I was looking for another medium to work with. Just in that I felt I couldn't break out of the balloon mold. Like it kind of felt at the precipice, like I could continue and really kind of build a career on this, but it wasn't quite what I was interested in. And I think part of it too is a lot of people would say stuff like, Chris just said it, where it's like, oh, balloons is your passion. And I didn't get some kind of euphoria twisting balloons, right? It was just like, I was just kind of interested in the shapes, and it was just this medium, but it's great in that it's unique, but it's also people want from you. Yeah. And so I was actually looking at like glass blowing and metalworking, but both of those have massive overheads and take years to
just learning it and getting a worker space, getting the raw materials. It's a lot, but it's beautiful stuff. Like all that stuff.
And it did kind of have the flexibility. With balloons, you can show up, in this giant space with just a suitcase of balloons and fill it up, right? So it was always happening a week. And you didn't have to worry about the load on the infrastructure. Whereas, if you're looking at metal, glass, very soon you're looking at transportation companies to ship that stuff, because you can get it fabricated, if it's a public art project in California, you can get that fabricated here in Illinois. But how are you going to ship? You can't just FedEx that stuff over, right? You got to work with a special company to bring that stuff over, install it. You have to have a civil engineer, to work with an architect. Like a lot of these
bureaucracy.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff, and then just legal, like insurance, right? This stuff falls over.
Yeah,
the balloon piece falls over, it's not gonna hurt anyone.
That's true.
A glass sculpture falling over.
It's a problem.
Yes, that could hurt somebody. Also, there's just something so joyful about balloons as a medium. I can see that.
Yeah.
It's a playful thing.
I was kind of just looking at other mediums, and a friend who I met from my time in advertising kind of told me about some of the stuff happening in indie games. And this was 2012, so that documentary had come out, and Journey and the sort of Unity was just starting to be a thing. I guess at that point it was like Unity 3, but
I guess I don't. It's hard to place time. It's just like that was in a period of time in the. Yeah, I remember. I also never used Unity, but sweet. Okay, so all right.
So it just seemed like maybe this is another medium to try.
But why didn't you?
It only takes 3 months. So.
But there's always there's the smaller games. Once you realized you were on a multi-year project, did anything inspire you to maybe I'll just make something smaller, something in Twine. I'll dip my feet into game development in a way that's in something shorter term. Like what?
Well, the thing is, Manifold Garden was supposed to be a project. my original idea was time traveling MMO set in Chicago, where you could go back in time and see how the city evolved.
Okay.
That sounds easy. Nice.
It's like every
quick project.
MMO is first. It's always the non-game developer's first idea.
Oh, really? MMO. That's what I'm gonna make.
Yeah.
How hard's that?
Well, back then, it was MMOs were huge.
That's
right?
true.
Back then, they were making money hand over fist. Venture capitalists were just raining money down on it. It's like how now you have it was MMOs and it was mobile and social, and now it's blockchain.
I think it's Battle Royale now.
Battle Royale's game-wise,
yeah, that's true. If you say Battle Royale, money will fall from the sky. It's incredible.
Blockchain Battle Royale, now holy shit. There's a VC going crazy for that right now.
I'm sure.
Blockchain Battle Royale? Yeah, I got it figured out. It's the Battle Royale in the blockchain. Using some serious crypto.
Rage. How did you, God, don't even. Okay. So, but at some point, you realized, hey, I'm only 10% of the way there, and I've been working on this for a year or two, right? At some point.
Yeah, I think maybe a year and a half in. Initially, you're right. I thought I was gonna finish it in 3 months, and I met at the time Jake Elliott. He's working on.
Who is Jake Elliott?
Jake, Kentucky Route Zero. So he's the designer of Kentucky Route Zero, and he's no longer based in Chicago, but he was here at the time, and he had organized this game dev match thing. What do they call it? I think they call it Chai Dev Date, but it was to connect, different game developers in the city. And I think I was at a friend's party, and he mentioned he saw this online, so I signed up. And I just got connected with this guy, Kyle, who works at Phosphor here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
He used to do a lot of stuff with Unreal. And I remember kind of telling him, I got this game idea, and I'm going to take 3 months. And he was like, right. And he did try to explain that it was going to take much longer. But anyway, he kind of introduced the Chicago game scene. I met the devs of Octodad.
Nice.
At the time they had started to get some attention. The game hadn't come out yet, but they were sort of featured in a couple of articles like, hey, a bunch of students from DePaul are making this game. And I met Phil, who's the CEO now, and I was like, hey, you know, I've got making this game. Maybe I can come by the office sometime and show you guys what I'm working on. And I thought, you know, I'd go in. He says, like, holy shit, you're a genius. This is the next.
This is it. You've changed gaming.
Yeah, because they've been working on the game. So they had made Octodad 1, and then they had graduated and had been working on Become Octodad's Japanese Catch part-time for about 1.5, 2 years at this point. And I remember thinking, like, what are these guys doing?
Why are you taking so long, guys?
Taking them so long? There's 8 of them. Just a couple levels. Ship the thing.
That's amazing. There's 8 of you guys. There's only 1 of me, and I've done all of this in like a few months.
Yeah, so I thought I'd show up, you know, after 3 months of, and they'd be, oh my God, we've been doing everything wrong. We went to school for this stuff. And
we feel like idiots now.
2 years, and
yeah,
just a genius. And that, needless to say, that playtest was just a disaster.
Oh, really?
Physics problems. I mean, it was very clear. Like, they were kind of one of the first people, aside from my roommate, to really play the game. And it was just very clear that I needed them. But that was a very, very humbling experience.
I can imagine.
To like,
yeah,
have gotten that super early on with people from Chicago. Otherwise, you know, can't imagine. It just really set the mindset for.
Yeah, that's got to help a hell of a lot. Like, especially like you say, if they're nice people as well, and they're not just going to be like, "Whoa!" Like when they start playing it, like they're.
Yeah, and then, you know, I wasn't like a jerk or anything. It was just, I think, you know, when you're 25, and you see a lot of the way people talk about making games on Reddit or on Twitter, and it's like, oh, I can make Half-Life 3. We just need a designer and a programmer and a writer, and the engine really does most of it, so you don't really need a programmer. We can crowdsource the design, and I mean, writing. Everyone.
Yeah, just go on Fiverr and get the art. Like, it's easy. Yeah.
I've been on the internet, and I've never heard anybody claim you can crowdsource the design. The stupidest things you hear are usually like, I have a great idea, I just need an artist and a programmer to do it for me. It's just like, shut up. Shut up.
I might have paraphrased the design. The sentiment is there.
No. I've heard shit like that.
Completely underestimating what goes into games.
Yeah, it's like, I have the idea. That's all you need. Like, now everyone else just figure this shit out, because that's the easy bit. It's coming up with that amazing idea that really.
Yeah, ideas are worthless.
That's the hard part.
Why didn't you quit in that moment?
Well, so then I had gotten the film, you know, at that point I was still very much in the contemporary art space, and I was doing a lot of what they call art residencies. Mm-hmm. And I think there's that program Stugun in Norway, you know.
You can go and stay there. Yeah. I had a friend who did that.
So that model is very common in the art world. So you'll have it at a lot of art centers. They'll have that, and the idea is, you know, you go and they're anywhere from like 2 weeks to, I've seen as long as 2 years. Most of the ones I did were like 3 to 6 months. Those are the most common ones. So basically, you go to an art center. Usually, I think a lot the good ones, they'll provide you with a stipend, and some will reimburse you for travel costs. But the idea is you just go there and focus on your art and kind of not worry about anything else, like what Stugun does, right? Just come here, they get to, and you are with other artists. You have this community, and just kind of this like rapid time to kind of rapidly prototype. And
I've heard that in theory, but like what I've seen, and when most people I know talk about it, because we got like a indie cabin. We had some things like that in San Francisco. We have one here in Boston, but it's usually like, for like the one in Boston's about 2 weeks, and a bunch of people get together. And there's a lot of drinking, and it's mostly like hanging out. And even when I see this stuff about Stugun on Twitter, it's like, today we all took a break and did a game jam, and I'm like, that's not what I want at all. Like, to me, it's never. I love the theory of it, but I feel like that's something that's better if you do it like, you know, go off to a cabin in the woods alone, not really like with other people. I think that's the part where I get confused.
I think it depends a lot on like where you are in your career or the phase of your project, and it also depends a lot on who's running the program. Like I had done one and this is from the art side, so I haven't done a thing like this in the game space, but one of the first I did was at the Bemis Center in Omaha, and that's run by artists, and so they're very much connected with the art scene, and that felt like a really great place to grow. But I had gotten one in Shanghai that was with Swatch. Basically, like Swatch bought this. They wanted a retail space in like Times Square, equivalent of Shanghai, the Bund, and it used to be this famous hotel, and the landlord, which I think is essentially the government, was like, you can take the retail space, but you have to keep it a hotel upstairs. Swatch was like, we don't really want to do hospitality.
Yeah.
But they somehow convinced themselves they're in the luxury space, and art is the highest form of luxury. So they'll just turn this into a residence space for artists. Like they'll invite artists from around the world to stay here for 6 months, and they give a studio space.
That's kind of cool.
Now that was run very differently, right? Because essentially that program was a subset of their marketing.
Yeah. It comes out of that budget, I'd imagine. Yeah.
Right. We used to, like, a bunch of artists joke, they have people and they give tours, and we joke about putting signs that say, don't feed the artist.
Yeah.
So whereas opposed to a lot of the other stuff you've done, like a lot of this stuff is run by grants from the government or from
like the National Endowment. I think it was that Robert Mapplethorpe, the photographer from the 60s, basically the NEA used to give grants to individuals, and then he published like a book of pretty risque photos, and then after we're only giving them to institutions who then distribute to individuals.
Huh, cool.
Okay, that's a whole nother topic, but basically, yeah, like I think a lot of these programs aren't yet, like for me now, I would definitely not travel to the cabin for 2 weeks. I'd rather just stay at home.
Yeah.
Use my own setup.
It's a crazy world. Even like, especially for me, because I've always worked on the commercial side of things. Like I've never, I started out in like venture capital based companies, which is a very different feel from like working for a company that's publicly traded, which is a very different feel from like a company that's private. But I've never like experienced living off of grants and stuff like that. I always thought that I was always jealous. I thought indies, like you hear about these indies in overseas in other countries getting, people will talk about funding. They'll be like, yeah, well, I mean, my country's not giving as many grants to the arts anymore. So now I can't run my studio. And it's like, wait, what? That's crazy as an American. It's like you make a product and sell it. You don't get money from the government. That's insane. But it's kind of cool too. Like I don't know. I get it. It's like a totally different world though. It's such a totally different mindset when you work at a place where you're not as customer focused. You're more focused on the art, which I think is
it's also like in the UK I know they have a lot of like UK studios get a lot of subsidies like and tax grants and things like that because it's promoting industry in the UK and stuff like that. So there's that side of it as well from a governmental perspective.
See, now that's the side I understand more, but there's also definitely like an arts endowment
just give you
side.
money kind of
There's
thing.
definitely like for instance, you'll get Canada gives a lot of money to the arts, specifically in the games industry, and a lot of it is not necessarily because they want to build business. It's because they're afraid of the culture victory of America. Like Canada doesn't feel like they have a voice. They don't. Some people would argue, perhaps I'm speaking out of turn, but some people would argue that Canada gives a lot of money to the arts because they're trying really hard to have a voice in the global stage, and it's hard to have a voice when you're right next to America, which is such a culturally dominant force in the world.
Potentially.
Anyway,
I have no idea about Canada.
Also, I know a little bit too much because Montreal gets like a shit ton of subsidies.
Oh,
like,
really?
Oh my god, game developers are almost free in Montreal. It's absurd. Like it's absurd how cheap they are.
We should all move to Montreal and make a video game. That's I think that's where it's going.
I'm mad about business stuff, like the tax incentive. The tax stuff I can go on too much, and that'll be boring because William Chyr is here. So, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done any of the grants for Manifold Garden. That's all been commercial. But yeah, the art world had kind of more of those structures. But
Yeah.
basically, to kind of go back, I was after that playtest with the Octodads, I had gotten this like residency lined up in Shanghai.
Yeah.
From based on my balloon work, like I'd gotten that about a few months ago. And so I was thinking, hey, you know what? I'm going to be there for 6 months. Why don't I just redo the game now that I've seen what it is, and we'll kind of check back in where it's at to decide if I want to continue with it.
Yeah.
So,
Fucking
yeah.
cool. Okay, so you made Manifold Garden in Shanghai, and you're like, I'll do this in 6 months. And how'd that go?
I did not think I was going to finish the game. The more that I could check back in and see if it was like promising enough to warrant more time. And I was thinking at most a year after. So yeah, it came. Yeah, and the thing that worked out well, and I, and this was just because I happened to be there, was I had there were I think like 18, 20 artists there at the same time, that I basically ended up having a lot of people playtest the game.
Nice.
That was working on it, so that worked out. That kind of worked out well for the initial prototyping phase. And then after that, it seemed promising. I came back to Chicago, and so I spent another year, and then went out to, I think it was in March, I went to GDC. I got back in September, and then
March of what year?
March of
like
my first GDC, I think 2014.
2014, okay.
Yeah, so at the time I've been working on the game for about a year and a half.
Sweet, okay.
Uh-huh.
So that's on YouTube, right? Your GDC talk there?
That GDC talk came 2 years later.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry.
Yeah, the first GDC I was not speaking. I just had an expo pass.
Okay. And so was that valuable to go to GDC as an indie?
Incredibly so. I just heard about it, and at the time, initially, like, you go to the Chicago local meetups and everybody's talking about GDC. And at first I thought it was just way out of my budget, because you look at you think you got to get the $2,000 all conference pass.
Madness pass. Yeah.
Well, once you've sort of been there, you know what you need to do. But then I found out, I can just go to the Expo Pass and meet everyone. Yeah, I met a lot of people there, and that was incredibly helpful. I think I actually went to IndieCade East.
Nice.
For that, so that would have been my first game game-related event outside of Chicago.
So were you showing the game when you were doing this, or were you going to learn and have fun?
Yeah. To me, I kind of would run into people at GDC and then approach them and ask. I remember and asked them to check out the game and give feedback. I remember I ran into Justin Ma from FTL.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And at first I didn't quite know who he was. I was like, hey! And I recognized him because I watched a video talking. And it was like, I just kind of went up to him. I was like, hey, man. And then I realized he had no idea who I was.
Hey, man, it's me. And he's like, oh, shit,
Hey! And I was like, oh. I actually...
there you are.
I was at E3 and Todd Howard walked by.
Nice.
And I was like, hey, dude, because
you knew who he was.
I just recognized him. And then I was like, oh, wait.
That's a famous person. Yeah, that's why I know him.
Well, the other thing is there's different tiers of famous, right? And you only know famous in your sphere. Like I don't know about half the names you said there, because I've never came from a game designer background, and I don't really know
Howard.
Yeah.
I do know that one, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad we both said that at the same time. Like, Todd Howard is. Jeez,
yeah,
come
okay,
on.
fine. But the game developer that made FTL, I actually couldn't tell you his name.
No, I know the game. Yeah.
Yeah, but but on that same mark, and I get into this a lot with some of my game design friends, where they'll be like, "What? How do you know that person?" I'll be like, "Well, why would I?" And then they'll walk right by the art director of Gears of War and not even recognize them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The industry is so big, and we all have our own spheres, and you kind of just only is the people you follow, and you can only follow so many people, really. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah.
Especially because as I was just kind of starting, the resources were the indie talks, right? Or looking at IGF, you're looking at the other games.
What was one of the? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying. Yeah. Anyway, Justin gave really good feedback. I remember he said this was kind of before I played with shaders.
Mm.
You know, the mechanics seems kind of cool, but really it's very generic, like a very generic first-person puzzle game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of encouraged me to explore the visual side. After GDC, then I spent like a week with shaders on it.
That's awesome.
Cool. And you just kind of taught yourself all this shader stuff too.
I had done some a bit in that the job prior when I was working at the studio that made science museum exhibits.
Yeah.
Because we were using, open frameworks and OpenGL. So I learned a bit. It wasn't like totally foreign, but yeah.
Okay.
Most of it was new. A lot of it was new.
You said earlier as well that like you didn't really play many games. Like, did that expand? I imagine as you began to become interested in making more games, did that become a thing, or did you initially just go, "Oh, I know what I want to do," and go from there?
No, yeah, I played games as a kid. I got an N64 when I was 12 for Christmas. And
Nice.
That was pretty exciting, and I played a lot of Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
A solid choice.
And I kind of stopped after in high school. Yeah, so I hadn't really played games.
But I imagine, like, once after you started Manifold Garden, at some point somebody was like, "Hey, have you checked out Portal?" And I'm hoping,
so what happened was I was like, "Hey, where do I buy games these days?" And they were like, "You should check out Steam." And so I downloaded Steam, and I had Portal in it because I think when Portal 2 came out,
the orange
they were
box.
giving away Portal. It was like if you downloaded Steam, you'd get Portal free. And I'd signed up, did not download Steam at the time, and then I think a year or two later when I finally did library.
All right, cool.
That Portal game's pretty good, right?
So I was like, oh, okay, this is a game. It's like 3 hours. There's 20 levels. So just pick a mechanic, make 20 levels. Bada bing, bada boom.
It's as easy as that. That's why there's so many games at the same level as Portal. It's just like that. I remember Portal is a really good example of one of those games that like you can say, "Oh, well, look at Portal. It's amazing." And it's like, yeah, how many games are that good? Like, there's not that many.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of difficult to really nail it that well.
Well, yeah, the thing you're missing, like, that's made by Valve, like,
doesn't hurt.
Incredibly talented team, and
very senior people who
Yeah.
will not release something unless it's perfect and so forth, and have the resources. Yeah, absolutely.
And to make just such like a short, tight experience, I've learned is almost much harder. Right? It's easy just to kind of throw stuff in the game and make it long.
I feel like if I ran into you at GDC back then and you were telling me this stuff, I would have had a heart attack on your behalf. Like, I would have been like, "You're trying to do what now?"
So
You went from art installations to trying to make a game solo. This is crazy. But you just, what I admire is that you stuck with it and that you've come this far, because that, like, you're still making it. It's happening. It looks like I'm watching your streams. They look good. It looks like you're further along. You're saying, here's where you scare me, William.
Yeah.
You're like, on one hand, you're like, "Oh, I'm shipping this Q1, Q2 next year."
Yeah.
And then in your stream last night, you were like, "But like, if this happens and if I slip," I'm like, "No."
Right.
This is it.
Yeah.
You gotta.
I mean, honestly, I'm surprised I'm still working on it too. If you had told me at the time that it was going to take 5.5 years, I would have started it. Just
You wouldn't
who
have
I
started.
was. Well, I would have been so terrified at it.
Yeah.
that's a long amount of time, yeah, especially in your mid to early 20s. Like, someone says, "Do you want to spend 5 years?" No.
Oh, but you don't. The thing is, you don't think of it like that when you're doing it, right? You think of it like, "Oh, I just need to get this one level done. Oh, I just want to animate this one character. Oh, I just want to," and before you know it, like, so you're hitting these little steps. You're enjoying each part of the process, and then at some point you stop and you're like, "Holy fuck! How long have I been working on the entirety of this game?" Because you never, at no point are you. Well, it's not often that you're thinking about absolutely all of the game at once, right?
Yeah.
Like,
the game kept changing. The scope.
yeah.
Change, but I think even now, I mean, if you told me a project was going to take 2-3 years, that feels very short, right? I think just like the sense of time that I had for now.
Have you ever stopped and done a game jam? Like a
No.
weekend game?
I've not done a single
Oh.
game jam.
Maybe after this is like a palate cleanser, you could make a game in a day. Like just do one of those game jams. I don't know. I won't tell you what to do. It's your life.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine making a whole game. You know, it takes me like days to pull out a feature to do an entire game. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to. Yeah, I don't know. I've never done it either, to be fair.
You haven't done game jams?
A proper game jam?
Yeah.
No. By the time that was a thing, I was already in the industry long enough. I just didn't see the point. Like I
Oh,
always,
okay.
like we would make little games in college. We just didn't call it game jams. We just called it making shit.
Right.
Like, or we'd like most of my experiment. Like I experiment all the time, especially when I have a job. But they're usually not games. They're usually like, I want to figure out the ideal way to make a procedural snake locomotion do exactly this. Like it's usually like a weird little, like a little thing I want to make. It's not like a game. This kind of is the first time I tried to make a game solo. That's a different conversation. But
Well,
like,
sometimes I tell people I'm on 10,000 hour game jam. But
yeah,
I actually
Just
missed
won't
the deadline
end.
already.
No one's come in and said the jam's over. By the way, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, no.
well, it's fascinating because so an experience I have never had was working entirely alone, which is something you've done for the entirety of this project, and that brings its own challenges.
Not true anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these past 2 years I've had a lot of help.
Yeah.
The first 3 years were long.
Mhm.
But
That's a
since
chunk of
then, it
time.
has-
So now, oh, that's right. Now you're like running a studio. You've got like a budget and.
Running a studio is a very generous way to cope. Yeah, there are people.
I'd say you're
Yeah.
running a studio. You've got, I mean, you're off-site. This is the modern studio, by the way. Distributed team.
Yeah.
Largely, are they like contractors or?
Yeah, everyone's a contractor. I'm not like set up to raise. Yeah, I think there's probably like 6-7 people. You know, some are part time, not. Some are kind of like on an as needed basis, but yeah, there's been a
So,
lot
like,
of people.
I imagine. I mean, you're running a studio at some point because you sat down and you were like, you're paying them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So at some point you figured out like, here's how much money the game's gonna make. Maybe here's how much money like I got. Hopefully,
Right.
like that's running a studio. You can.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You probably. I'm guessing you installed QuickBooks. Like
I have not. I just
you've
have
not installed. You've got. I'm.
It's all up here. Like it's just
Oh,
like,
spreadsheet. Shit, tons
Just,
of spreadsheets.
yeah, I just remember it. It's gonna be
I
fine.
just take off my shoes and toes.
Yeah.
God, you are so cool. I'm still having a heart attack on your behalf. This is amazing, though. Like, cool.
So the connection here is you're kind of both making puzzle games at the moment. Like you're both solo puzzling. Like that's a big thing that's happening. Because I don't know. Well, I don't know too much about your game actually, William. So for those that are kind of uninitiated, what's I know like this is a 5-year story, and we've kind of spent all this time building up to this. But what is the game you're working on at the moment?
See, I haven't been in the pitch mode.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, have you even needed to fully be in like? Now give me
doesn't
the
everybody know?
give me
You know
the
the
sentence.
terrifying thing is you don't realize nobody's fucking heard of Manifold Garden.
Yeah, I know.
You always think in your own head you're like everybody knows about this. I've been screaming from the rooftops, and then you realize like you've been screaming from the rooftops to like that's nothing compared to launch day.
Yeah.
Just sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean that's sort of where I've been keeping kind of a low profile too, but yeah, definitely closer to launch plan.
Yeah, because it's
yeah.
hard to wrap your mouth around the words to describe your game, and you only have that for like when it's time to have that, right? You don't want to say the wrong words, so like I totally get it. Just saying.
But yeah, you know, it's a game about exploring counterfactual physics. So, what if questions about physics and exploring space and architecture. It started off much more of a puzzle game, and I think that's actually shifted, where the puzzles are more there to help with the pacing and kind of get you familiar with the puzzles, but the main focus is really about the exploration of the space.
Yeah, it's a trippy kind of experience where you're playing with From what I've seen, I'm just trying to like. You described it, Chris Light, and you can tell me if I'm wrong.
I mean, I got it from what he said, but
Oh, you did?
I like that
Oh,
you. I like that you felt. Well, he's an idiot. Let me explain this
No,
to him. He's not gonna understand that.
The coolest thing to me is that it feels like an Escher painting, and that you're like walking.
Yeah.
The gravity changes.
Well, that's like when you were saying like counter-logical physics, which like because I am stupid, it did take me a couple of seconds for my brain to go, huh? And then I was like, that is a really interesting way to describe that. Like just as a sentence and as a pitch kind of idea. I was like, huh.
Yeah,
that does sound cool.
Term, I was speaking with a historian, and he talked about counterfactual history.
Counterfactual, there you go.
If,
yeah. Yeah, that's smart. Like that sounds nice.
Lost, and so it's all about these kind of what if questions.
Yeah. And the kind of like you said, the puzzling is kind of just, but it's the narrative around exploring all of these physics and how they interact and stuff.
Yeah, we've had like the game has grown. Is sort of is like the meta game like tour and nice. Cosmic Gardener on a journey to bring life to this world, discover its rules. But that I think that sounds like Starseed.
I'm sorry.
You know the game Starseed Pilgrim?
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful little game that I've taken a lot of ideas.
No, dude, that sounds really cool as a concept. That sounds really interesting. And I've seen, like, because I popped into your stream, actually, when Gwen, I think, said, oh, maybe we could talk to William. And she was like, oh, he's streaming right now, actually. And I clicked on it. I was like, wow, there's a lot going on here. Like, this is game development, as far as I'm aware. Like, I looked at it and was like, damn, there is some stuff happening right now that I do not understand. Like, it looks complicated, dude, I guess is what I'm saying. And there's a lot going on, which must, because mentioning the streaming, has that become, like, a big part of your marketing of this game? Because that's another thing Gwen's doing as well. She's streaming, thanks to me going on at her about it.
Not like William. He's doing it more and better.
I don't know about the marketing, but yeah, I started streaming. I think initially it was about that. Streaming for like 3 years now, about 2 years ago. Now I just really, it's a kind of a great way to keep myself on a schedule and having, I think one of the hard parts about working from home is, and I'm alone here, it's to stop me from binge watching Netflix and eating ice cream on the couch all day.
Yeah. No, I agree. That can be very difficult. Like, as someone who's working on their own, and like I don't make games, but I do the same thing where all the work I do is at home, and I work for myself. And I have a similar thing. Like, I've started streaming in the morning recently. Like 10 a.m. I will begin streaming something, like whatever. But you're going to do a thing at that time, so it kind of keeps you, like you say, at least on a schedule. So you're at least doing something, particularly if it's your work.
I guess I could. Ice cream and watching Netflix.
You could. There's a whole category for that. IRL. Like, they're all there doing that stuff. Like, they're having a good time.
What if you did that and that was more popular? What would you do? You'd be like, shit, they just want me to eat ice cream and watch Netflix, and that's all I want to do.
Making money hand over fist. Like, I'm a millionaire.
Yeah, I suppose I probably shouldn't complain if that does work out.
Yeah. That's one of those things where you shouldn't do it.
I would complain. I want to see Manifold Garden. Make this happen.
Yeah, but it's also just been like a great way to have a community, and there are people who are excited about the game. There have been people watching the streams for, I think, about as long as I've been streaming. And it's just nice to kind of share moments, right? Both when you're frustrated, but like when things work out, and you're upset. That was always a thing where like I felt when I was working those first 3 years, it's like solve a problem, and I'd be super excited, and then there was just no one around.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're just like, yeah.
Yeah, really, that's what it was like.
Yeah, it is different. It is very different working alone. I can definitely see why you would start streaming. I will say, like, I hate it sometimes. Like, right now I'm in a phase where I just kind of hate it. Because, like, I can't... sometimes I start a task and I get stuck, and so I just switch to a different task, and then I get stuck and I switch to a different task, and that ends up being the thing I do. And that'll happen like, or I'll dither between different things, or I'll just like, and that just doesn't make for. I feel weirdly self-conscious if I do that while streaming. There's a lot of things. I feel weirdly self-conscious. A lot of the my work habits are fucking pretty slapdash, so I feel pretty weird streaming it because I don't feel like I can. I feel like a lot of the good streams are the ones where somebody comes on and they're like, I am going to do this, and then they do it, and then like, and now we are done, and then they leave, and I'm like, all right, that was educational and good for the world. Whereas I feel like my streams are like, I am fucking hanging out.
I think actually that was the big change for me. I used to think an agenda. Like today we're doing this, and then at some point I felt to me it was more just about hanging. So, and some days you're just off and don't feel like hanging out, and that's so.
Yeah.
I feel like the nice thing. Well, I mean, at this stage, there's so much grunt work.
At the end, it's just that closeout, man.
Yeah, so it's nice that, and those I think work because you're not necessarily trying to solve a design problem.
No.
Okay, all this stuff's got to be made. Just kind of.
I mean, you have to have. I know what you mean, and there's creative problems to solve, but they're within certain constraints. Right. So it's not like quite the same. It's not quite the like. Now I need to dream for a bit.
Right.
Like you don't have. Because I imagine it's got to be a lot harder to. Well, I don't know. I can't seem to do that.
Well, for those tasks, I mean, I prefer. And they always come at the block, and then you're drinking coffee, and then it's like, oh, I can do that, right? But so those don't work. But right now there's just so much like churning.
Yep, the end, the death march, or the closeout.
Yeah. So you feel you're getting close, like because Gwen was saying you've set a date that's like this is the date that this is happening and it is coming out now.
Not necessarily the ship date because I think that would depend on console certification. But
yes, so it's like console release and all that stuff.
Yeah, but in terms of like when we need to have the game locked, that is set. And I've made my peace. It's like there are just some fundamental design things that are not going to change. Not perfect, but it's like, and I could. It's like you can tweak the game. Like, it's like we're just gonna have to get it. Fix as many of the problems as we can within this.
You just gotta start. You keep writing them down, and you're like, in the sequel, I will do this. In the sequel, I will do this. And you just FNG it. That's the only way you'll stay sane.
What's FNG?
For next game.
Oh, for next game.
I didn't know either, so it was fine. I let a lot of those fly. I'm just like, yeah, that probably means something to people watching. Like,
like you start marking bugs or different things FNG if it means like I will put this in the sequel, and you just mentally prepare to make the next game. That also helps later on, by the way.
Right.
When you ship, I don't know, like that moment when you ship and you're like, fucking what now? If you kind of like, well, I had ideas for another game, maybe I'll prototype. You can kind of. It gets you out of that pit a bit. Right. If you've got like, you're like, oh, now what? And then you open up like I had 1 billion ideas a month ago. Oh, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna go eat ice cream. But at least like you feel a little bit better because like there's ideas still. Like
I'm gonna write down your suggestions. Scream myself watching Netflix, eating ice cream.
Yeah, but that's gonna be where you become a millionaire, man. It's gonna be when you're streaming.
You've probably heard this term before. Ship with shame.
Ship with shame? I actually haven't.
Oh, it's I think it's from Bethesda, but basically they get the game to where they can ship it, but they'd be ashamed of it.
Ah, yes.
But then it's at that point it's playable. There's a start, there's an end, and it needs a ton of work. And then, but after you cross that, everything you do is making the game better.
It's like in startup world, you'd call that the minimum viable product.
Yeah. So I feel like we've passed that with Manifold.
Yeah. Awesome.
I know your game's playable beginning to end, right?
Yeah, you can save it and you can load it. You can continue at your graphics settings and you can remap it. Like all the things that make it a game. And I mean, there are some parts that are very tedious and parts that are way too long. But yeah, you can get through that. And so now it's just.
Now you're in the polish phase, the polish and the closeout.
Polish and closeout, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice,
This
man.
is a different part of I don't know. I want to interview you again like after it's out in 8 months.
Yeah, we'll see if I have it.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for being on the podcast. For people in the chat, if you're fine with sticking around for a little longer, William, we will answer any questions if you have them. For people just listening to the podcast, William, where can they find you on the internet?
Well, I guess my handle is on the screen, but yeah,
It is
the same one I use for Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, all the others.
And for people listening on SoundCloud or iTunes, that is William Chyr.
Yes,
Nice. I didn't phrase it well.
William CHY.
Awesome. What's up? Thank you so much for joining us. The game looks really cool. I'm looking forward to playing it. Can people wishlist it or anything like that yet?
Yeah, it's we have a Steam store page.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Get doing
Yeah.
that.
listable.
It's for people who don't know, it's important that you wishlist this game because it makes us happy. It makes a number higher. Also because it helps the Steam algorithms later on, so your game is more likely to be promoted more when he launches. So don't be a piece of shit. Go
Yeah.
wishlist Manifold Garden and do us all a favor. Thanks for hanging out with us, William Chyr.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on.
All right. This has been Chris Slight, William Chyr, and Gwen Frey, and you've been in the Dialogue Box.
Bam. That is the audio bit done. We're still on
It is
Twitch.
100 degrees.
She's turning the air conditioning on, I assume.
Fuck it, I'm gonna go stand in front of it. Let me know if there's a question.
Gwen's out. Thanks for doing that, William. Also, I saw someone use the term William-air. Familiar. I like that. That was good.
Technically, there's already billionaire.
There's already billionaire, but I mean, you take it to another level with the... So yeah, if anyone in the chat has any questions, please do feel free to put them in. I hope you make $1 William. There you go.
All right.
Oh, sorry, my mouse is going across the screen. I should move this. I can't believe I didn't already have Manifold Garden wishlisted. Totally fix that. There you go. If I can contribute anything to today, it is the knowledge from years of interviewing indie developers that wishlisting shit is like, I didn't even know it was a thing until I started interviewing indie developers, and they're like, make sure you wishlist that game. I was like, wishlist? Like, yeah, you can do that.
Lose the Foresty is asking if we have jobs other than game development.
I don't even do game development. So, William, do you have jobs other than game development?
I do not. Yeah, I've been full time on this game. I was looking at taking on additional content work. We earlier this year, but I think we got that funding situation sorted out.
Nice.
Nice. Congratulations. That's not easy.
Not quite finalized, but yeah.
I don't like. You're like such an anomaly. I'm still kind of blown away by you. I just want you to know. Like, I've just been like in the commercial space for so long. The idea of like going solo, figuring out the funding as you go.
I would not recommend figuring out the. I was not intentional.
You know, I just had to.
In the middle of development, really stressful, time consuming.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I own I founded a small studio in Boston that makes video games commercially. So our last game is The Flame and the Flood. I own and work for the Molasses Flood part-time still. I obviously used to work for it full-time back when we were on The Flame and the Flood. And so yeah, that's kind of like, that's where I get my revenue. I'm a game dev full-time on 2 different jobs.
Nice.
Yeah.
I do a bunch of shit, and none of it is making video games. I mostly
Chris
talk
Slight,
about them.
like both of the people in this chat it takes a lot to do what you guys do. Like it takes a lot emotionally to wake up each day and just kind of figure out what you're doing. We've talked about this before. I don't think I could do it, what you do, specifically Chris Slight, where you're like, I take odd jobs as they come up, and like sometimes I'm managing a stage, and sometimes I'm like working for Devolver, and sometimes like the fact that your life completely changes all the time is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Hell, like,
It does a lot of that. It does a lot of that, and it's a general strong desire to never really actually work. Kind of keeps me doing whatever the fuck comes my way. I've done work. I've done it, and I'm like, yeah, that's enough. Never want to do that again. So just holding on to I can talk about video games forever. And that's my strong desire. Someone wants to know who would win in a fight between Jonathan Blow and Zach from Zachtronics. This is important. I don't even know who Zach from Zachtronics even is. So I'm going to go Jonathan Blow. Because I get the feeling that guy, like, he feels really, like, thick and strong. Like, I get the feeling he could crush you. That's my guess. I don't know. But then I don't know who Zach from Zachtronics is. So couldn't say.
I don't think either of them would be willing to fight. It's an interesting.
No, but this is if they had to. Like, it's happening. Like, this is like someone's gonna die. Like that. I imagine it's that kind of a situation.
Like they're all right.
They're both wonderful people. I'm going to refrain from publicly making.
Probably deciding who would win in a fight. See, I don't know either of them, and I don't even know who one of them is. So, it for me, I can just throw it out there. So yeah, why not? One of these guys.
Yeah, just speaking on the going indie, shifting bits comment. Yeah, the benefits and insurance. That's a tough one, I think. Yeah, that lack of stability.
Yeah, you guys don't have an NHS, do you? That'll get you. Like, I got that going on.
I fractured my elbow. Bike accident. Fortunately because of the ACA.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I'm on, you know what? I'm on the ACA too. And before, like Massachusetts always had Mass Health, which is what ACA is based on.
That's right. Yes. So
from the minute I moved here, I knew if I started a company, I'd be okay. We're still we're at the place. We just got funded at the molasses flood, so we're hiring up people, and we're in the process of like setting up health insurance for our employees and stuff. It's such a pain in the ass. It is such an incredible pain in the ass. I'm so. Like I think it's terrible for small businesses and entrepreneurs that we don't have better health insurance in our country, or better something like the NHS or something like that. I could go on about it, but I'll just be like an angry rant. Like I think it's anti-business. I think it's terrible. I mean, I don't have the benefits, and I am on the ACA as well, and it's like, it's a fucking $400 a month charge for like one of the cheapest health plans I can get.
Right.
And I loathe this, the inefficiency in the system.
Yeah, like for me, it's a fairly minor fracture, just type 1, so they couldn't even see the fracture. But even then, it's like emergency room. That's $500. And you gotta see the orthopedist, and then you do the physical therapy. Yeah, I think. Probably full price. It's probably somewhere closer to 5,000-6,000.
Shit, man.
That's insane.
I mean,
that's not what I'm gonna pay, but
still,
that's a huge.
I mean, you have to. It doesn't even matter where you stand politically. If you realize the rise of GoFundMe and things like this are based entirely on medical bills.
That is like
when you realize how much money is being soaked from society, not for anything that's not going to doctors or that's just going to nowhere. It's just evaporating into a giant bureaucracy. It's like, I can't even imagine. The government is the definition of bureaucracy, and I still feel like it would be less bureaucratic than our healthcare system. When you look at just how much money just hemorrhages out of things, I've got nothing but hate.
It just doesn't make any sense. We'll get off this topic in a minute, but I was on a phone call for various reasons to an American health insurance company, just trying to understand how it works. And at one point I had to explain to him how the NHS works. in order for him to understand why I couldn't I just couldn't get my head around how it was. I was like, so I'm giving you money, but then there's these 3 different types of things, but what do these 3 different types of things mean? And like, do I not just go into a place? Do I pay more money when I go into another place? Like this, what does this mean? And like, yeah, a lot of it seems very complicated as well. Like here, you just walk into a hospital and you're like, I am broken in some way. And they're like, well, let us fix it. And that's kind of it. And then you leave.
Yeah, you really need to have gone through the process to really understand what.
Yeah, it feels like it.
I don't see, and I'm not even convinced necessarily like that the NHS is the best solution either. It's just like I'll take anything that's not what we have at this point. Like I will take whatever.
But yeah, these are some of the many things that make, I imagine, being a solo dev kind of not easy.
Yeah, it's
like,
not. I think the way I did it would not be the way I would do it again.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think when you're 20, you don't have a lot of expenses. Even my rent in Chicago back then, 2012, was like I was paying $350 a month.
Damn.
In Logan Square, but this is, but you know, I was also sleeping on a futon.
Well,
right?
yeah. There's trade-offs, but still, that is cheap. $350 a month.
Yeah, that's no longer the case. I mean, that was even very cheap back then. But you know, I think early mid-20s,
you're used to
put up. You're used to put up with a lot more.
Yeah, like you're fresh out of college. It's easier to. I totally get it. Like I rented from a room in a house. Similar idea for like $500 in San Francisco. I get it. Yeah, but like so if you were starting
in my early 30s now, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, those aren't. I think that kind of instability just isn't as suitable for me.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
We don't seem to have any more questions. So, is there anything else you want to talk about, William or Gwen? Because I know you probably have at least a few questions as you're kind of going through a solo dev situation yourself right now.
I creep on him in his channel. It's fine.
Oh, all right. You're like, oh, I know everything that needs to be known. That camera behind him is actually mine. Like, it's fine.
I mean, you're like the other half, right? Like you're I guess you're not solo dev. I gotta stop saying that. But you work alone for the most part from your home, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my pain going from AAA was getting used to that, actually, and just like for me, it wasn't I don't know, just general. Like you kind of articulated it pretty well that. When something goes right, there's no one to talk to. You can't kind of brag about what you're doing. You can't really like. There's none of that camaraderie. There's not even really it. There's nobody to bounce ideas off of. There's nobody to show something to and be like, is this good or bad? Or I don't know. That did take a bit of getting used to, I would say.
Yeah, when I worked in advertising, you know, downtown Chicago, and the skyscraper was one of the biggest advertising agencies in the world. You know, they'd have just, you know, the downtown just like walk around your cubicle Friday, they'd have drinks and sort of miss a lot of that. Like the atmosphere of kind of taking the elevator up to the 30th floor, right? And all that. But I felt like the years then, you kind of build up new ways of doing that. You know, it's really nice to be able to take an hour during the day to go to the gym.
Yeah.
That flexibility, and I think streaming, and I think just us, like, you know, I feel like most of our interactions have been online through streams, so I think you get those.
Yeah, it is cool. It's kind of like being part of the internet community. I dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out and doing all this stuff. Thank you for all the questions in the chat. I like the Port Ponky. I'm guessing, is he someone that watches your stuff regularly?
Unfortunately, yes.
Both of us. He is a bit of a...
You gotta have one.
He's the one that... He creeps on Twitch harder than any of us, I believe. At least he talks in all the... Every now and then I'll tab into someone's chat and I'll just be like, what are they responding to? And it's usually him.
Oh, really?
Usually when he shows up, that means...
Yeah.
Damn. Well, Paul, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. But, dude, thank you for being here. People, if you came in halfway through or anything like that, the full audio of the conversation from earlier will be up on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, all of the things on Friday. And, yeah, we'll be back next week. It would be good to have you back again, as Gwen said, when the game shipped. So,
or whenever.
Or whenever, dude.
Actually, you know what? No matter what, either way, in like 8 months. So we'll have
just
either
so we know.
why the game shipped or why it didn't conversation. And then
either way, it'd be interesting.
Either way, I want to know more, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, dude, thank you so much for being here.
I'm excited for Manifold Garden. I can't wait. All right, yeah.
Funky, I still love you.
Thanks for the
I don't and never did.
Hey, and I'm the opposite. Take care, everybody. Thank you for being here. We will see you all soon. And, yeah, William, thank you for being here, dude.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No worries. Bye, everyone.